All right, this is going to be fun. It's time now to talk about the war on RT. If there is one, we're wondering, because now everyone has a right to their opinions. We would never deprive anybody of that. We would never decry that right. But we here at RT feel that it's time to address some of the criticism that's been directed against us, directed at us, to correct the misinformation that we feel has been put out there. For example, Politico has called us a, quote, Russian propaganda arm. But that aside, today I want to address criticism that centers around our guest selections, the frequent people that appear on this show. Our chief frequently quotes U.S. extremists as authorities on world events or interviews them at length. That's what the Southern Poverty Law Center had to say about us. Now, in addition to that, we have coming from the New York Times, if we could move to that next slide, ratings have risen at Russia Today as they've reported on controversial topics on the fringe of mainstream news. A report, and this is the example they give of our, fringe reporting, featured an interview with Malik Zulu Shabazz, the national chairman of the new Black Panther Party. And moving on to some other criticism. Next slide, please. According to a former CBS correspondent, he said if the names of American guests on RT are unfamiliar to many Americans, there's a reason. Let's see it. No, next slide, guys. Their guests are people on the fringes of respectability and cranks. Now, that was coming in actually a report that some Columbia University journalism school students did, which then they were interviewed by NPR and kind of continued to say things to that effect. But back to the matter. Yes, you get it. We're so fringe. We are so fringe that you're never going to see any of our guests' faces anywhere else, because mainstream, respectable news stations would never be interested in any of our unrespectable, extreme guests. You know what? Let's take a look at some of these fringe, unrespectable, extremist guests that we regularly have on the show. Roll the tape.
You get immediate feedback.
I think at this point we're all trying to scramble to find all the facts.
Yes, we are. Did you notice anything? Those fringe, unrespectable guests are everywhere. They're all over. You can't escape them. Now, RT is not a mainstream channel. We don't want to be. We believe in bringing on a variety of points of view, which you are not going to see on the mainstream stations. That is kind of the point of our existence. But come on. Nobel Prize winners, presidential hopefuls, and whistleblowers, I think, are pretty qualified to speak as guests on a news program. And, we also, I want to point out, have many of those guests on right here on RT long before the mainstream media shows any interest in them. So, maybe they're taking a page from our playbook. Who knows? Anyway, for example, Ron Paul, we were doing interviews back with him in 2008, long before every mainstream channel was inviting him on about his presidential run, like we saw earlier this month when he made the announcement. Also, the New York Times blogs picked up on our first interview with Julian Assange because at that time, not much press had talked to him. That was back in April of 2010. And Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, he was coming on RT long before MSNBC had snatched him up to fill a seat in their very own anchor chair. So that's just something for you to consider. We'll continue to do what we do. We think we do it well, but we are also going to continue to seek to address some of the allegations being made against us.